all get a decent grade and now ready for our presentation. So I would like to introduce you. My name is Đức and he's up here, After and Joshua, and we are excited to introduce you our King certificate that collaborating with the TFL, which is a big chance for us. So to start off, please let me to ask you some questions. Please raise your hands up if you use the underground train to travel here today. Yeah, that's quite a lot. I would say it's half of us were using it, so which means it's really important. Second question, how did you make sure the train is safe for you to use it? So our title is Centralizing Non-Destructive Testing Result for 72 TS. We are left with two big questions to investigate. One, what is NDT? And two, what is 72 TS? So through our research, we found out that 72 TS it referred to the 1972 rolling stock, which is a train model using in the Bakerloo line. And if you do a quick calculation, they are now 53 years old and still traveling up to 500,000 people every single day, 140 hours a week, which is insane for a grandpa train. And second, NDT. It refers to the non-destructive testing, which is a method for detecting deformation in the material, which is used by the engineer in TFL, without damaging the component in the train. Of course, because we don't want to break the train in half just to investigate it. So I would like to show you some train map we are using in London right now, which is amazing. They really connected to each other and we're showing we have a great public transport. As you can see, the Bakerloo line is start from northwest and end at south. They are a crucial part of the transport system that we are using. And my Uncle Ben always say, with great power comes great responsibility to maintain the operation of one single line so that we are being on time for any events that we attend and to make sure our safety when using the train. It's really complicating for engineers to storing the data. We also understand that paper is a really traditional way to store the data because they are really easy to modify. However, the biggest drawback is it's time consuming because if you want to find a single data of a train on a single day, you have to go through millions of it and you don't want it to happen to you. So our King certificate is an artifact where we create a mobile app allowing engineers to input data and saving it online. Also, it's saving that time, saving the tree. To carry on our King certificate, we have to break it out to smaller questions. Which entity method does it actually use? And what data do they care about?
So, as Đức said, just Googling the keywords wasn't enough to understand the whole project. So, thanks to our mentor Joe, who helped us to arrange a Stonebridge Park Depot visit on 13th of December 2024 to understand more about the tube stock and also how the engineers do carry out the non-destructive testing. So we went to Stonebridge Park Depot to understand the structure of the tube stock. So as you can see in the picture, we are there with the engineers, and that's we are underneath the train, and those are some of the pictures of the non-destructive testing. And this is a picture of something called bogie. That's where the whole carriage sits on, and that's just underneath the train. And so after we went there, we understood that they carry out a lot of non-destructive. They do use different methods to carry out the non-destructive testing of them. One is dye penetration testing, where they add, first they clean the material surface, and then they add the penetrant, and then they take off any excess penetrant that's on the surface, and then they add something called developer, which helps them to detect the crack in that material. And that's just one picture of them carrying out carrying out dye penetration testing. So the yellow line is the length of the crack that's on the tube stop. Another method is magnetic particle testing, where they magnetize the whole material and then they add iron particles, and then that helps them to, that clusters around the leakage, and then they detect the crack. So after that, we got to know about the methods of non-destructive testing. Then we had to know how Microsoft Power Apps work. So we did some Googling, and we found out that you don't actually need any coding knowledge in order to make an app using this platform. And it's compatible with multiple devices, and it also uses Microsoft 365, and TFL also uses Microsoft 365, which is good for them because in that way they can use, their staff can use the one app in multiple devices. Some drawbacks are that Microsoft Power App is not widely used, so there is not that many of documentation, and also you can only, one person can only edit at a time, so that's a bit hard. That was really hard for us because when we are together, working together, it was really hard. So in order to know more about Microsoft Power Apps, we did a module by Microsoft, which the title is Get Started with Power Apps, Canvas Apps module. And we completed the whole module as a team, and that helped us to understand how we can make an app, and also what formulas and how we can use those formulas to create an app without using any programming language.
In order to complete our project, we need a methodology, which is a set of processes and values that we hold in order to complete a task. We need a methodology that solves two specific, very large problems that we have on the project. The fact that we barely know how to use Power Apps at all, because we've just been introduced to it, and we only have 8 months to build the app that we're going to present at the end of the project. So the methodology that we're going to use, as suggested by our mentor, is Agile Software Development, and you can split it into this simplified flowchart, which can show you exactly the method that we followed. So we started at our initial envisioning, which basically means understanding what we need to do and the ways that we can do it. You use user stories, which I'll explain on the next slide, in order to gain an idea of what we were doing. Then we move on to the development of the app, where we start prototyping the features that we need for our app, and then we run them through specific tests based on those features in order to see if they're passable. And if they have passed the tests, they might go through multiple rounds of testing before they pass. They are implemented into the final version of our app. There are two different types of tests. We have the developer test and the acceptance test. The developer tests are done by the developers to make sure that the feature actually works. And then the acceptance test is done by our clients to make sure that they actually like the app and can use it themselves. Firstly, we utilize user stories. Now, user stories, they're small bits of text that are taken from the clients that are very simple for developers to understand. They follow a set path. As a role, I want a goal so that I can benefit in a certain way. So these are some examples of user stories that we collected from the NTT team at Stonebridge Park Depot. For example, they want to record the crack location, the length of the crack, and the car number that the crack was found, so they can keep up to date with conditions of specific trains, which would allow them to manage them better. Then we built a prototype. We actually built at least 3 different prototypes, which display